Hey pros, today's topic, deep learning. Deep learning is a type of machine learning that uses structures called artificial neural networks to learn from data, especially large and complex data sets. Some of the main concepts are the neural network, a set of layers that transforms input into output using mathematical functions, the input layer, which takes the raw data, for example, an image, hidden layers to learn patterns, features at various levels of abstraction, the output layer, which produces the final prediction or result. And of course, the training. This is a process of adjusting the network's parameters using data and feedback, typically via backpropagation. If you're flying solo, no worries. We've got your back. You are never alone on this journey. Otherwise, let's turn this into a family game night so we can build confidence, spark curiosity, and have fun. Ready? Okay, let's go. True or false? Over 95% of recent AI breakthroughs involve deep learning models. That's true. Deep learning models are behind the majority of recent artificial intelligence advancements. True or false? Deep learning uses neural networks with multiple hidden layers to learn complex patterns. That's true. Multiple hidden layers in neural networks allow deep learning to capture complex data relationships. True or false? The term deep learning became popular in the 2010s with advances in computing power. That's true. The rise of deep learning coincided with the availability of powerful computers and large data sets in the 2010s. True or false? All deep learning models require labeled data for training. That's false. Some deep learning models can learn from unlabeled data using unsupervised or self-supervised approaches. True or false? Deep learning can only be used for image recognition tasks. That is false. Deep learning is versatile and can be used for a range of tasks beyond image recognition. True or false? Deep learning has revolutionized fields like speech recognition and natural language processing. Of course, that's true. Technologies like speech recognition and NLP, natural language processing, have been transformed by deep learning techniques. True or false? Training deep learning models often requires large data sets and powerful GPUs. That's true. Large data sets and GPUs, that's graphical processing units, are typically needed to train deep learning models efficiently. True or false? Deep learning models never make mistakes in their predictions. That's, of course, not true. Like all AI, deep learning models can make errors in their predictions. True or false? Deep learning can be used for both supervised and unsupervised learning. That is true. Deep learning supports both supervised and unsupervised learning paradigms. True or false? Deep learning is great in real-world situations, but not academic research. That is false. Deep learning is widely used in industry and not just research settings. In other words, it is also used in research settings. True or false? Deep learning models can outperform traditional machine learning algorithms in many tasks. That is true. Deep learning often surpasses traditional ML, machine language, in accuracy for complex tasks. True or false? Deep learning networks are always easy to interpret and understand. That is false. Deep learning networks are often complex and not easily interpretable. True or false? Deep learning is used in autonomous vehicles for perception and decision making. That's true. Autonomous vehicles rely on deep learning for visual perception and making driving decisions. True or false? Deep learning models can be sensitive to biased or unbalanced data. That's true. If training data is biased or unbalanced, deep learning models can reflect or amplify those biases. True or false? Deep learning can generate realistic images, music, and text. Of course, that's true. Generative models in deep learning can create new content such as images, audio, or text. True or false? Deep learning is only applicable to big data problems. That is false. Deep learning is also effective on smaller databases and a variety of problems and platforms. True or false? Deep learning can be used for anomaly detection and cybersecurity. That's true. Anomaly detection and cybersecurity is a common application of deep learning. True or false? Deep learning models can be deployed on edge devices for real-time inference. That's true. Edge computing enables deep learning models to run on devices for real-time tasks. True or false? Deep learning is used in healthcare for diagnostics and drug discovery. That's true. Healthcare uses deep learning for medical imaging, diagnosis, and drug discovery. True or false? Deep learning models are resistant to adversarial attacks. That is false. Adversarial attacks can exploit weaknesses in deep learning models, making robustness a challenge. True or false? Deep learning cannot improve recommendation systems for online platforms. That is false. Recommendation engines use deep learning to improve personalization and relevance. True or false? Deep learning is not suitable for time series forecasting. That is false. Deep learning is used for time series forecasting in many industries. True or false? Deep learning models can require significant energy consumption for training. That is true. Training deep learning models can require significant electricity and computational resources. True or false? Deep learning is used in finance for fraud detection, but not algorithmic training. That's false. Financial institutions use deep learning for fraud detection and training algorithms. True or false? Deep learning models can be fine-tuned for specific applications. That's true. Transfer learning and fine-tuning allow deep learning models to adapt to specific needs. True or false? Deep learning is always transparent in its decision-making. That is false. Deep learning models are often considered black boxes and lack transparency. True or false? Deep learning can be combined with reinforcement learning for advanced AI systems. That's true. Combining deep learning and reinforcement learning leads to advanced AI capabilities. True or false? Deep learning models avoid learning from hierarchical features. That's false. Deep learning models learn hierarchical features and build complex representations from simple ones. True or false? Deep learning is used in agriculture for crop monitoring and yield prediction. That is true. Agriculture benefits from deep learning for crop monitoring and yield estimation. True or false? All deep learning models are fully autonomous and require no human oversight. That's false. Currently, it's not true. However, research level 5 autonomy. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Congratulations, you made it to the end. Here's to you for taking the quiz and stepping into the future with AI. Here's to your willingness to have a new perspective, a new prospective, to experience new possibilities. Let's keep outpacing the challenges ahead. And if you've learned anything new, please hit the like button, subscribe and grow with us, and turn on notifications so that you never miss a way to stay ahead. Drop a comment. Let us know what we're doing right and maybe what we're doing not so right. Your comments and your opinions matter. And if you're enjoying the journey, follow along for even more ways to sharpen your edge. Let's push forward together, pros. I'll see you next time. All right, baby. AI.